Hi, I'm Saddam and I'm a web developer. So, in this series of implementing social login page using AWS Cognito and Django, this is the part 2 where I'll be showing you the backend part, how to handle the responses coming from this AWS Cognito after the user sign into the application perfectly properly, and also we'll be handling this session after the successful user authentication. Okay, and also we'll be retrieving the user data from these jot tokens, the id tokens, to be very specific, that I have shown you earlier in the earlier video, that how this jot token works, what are the data they carry along with this id token. All those stuffs I've shown you, and I will just retrieve the required data, the user data, from this jot token using the python code and all those stuff. So before moving forward, there are some tiny changes in the configuration that we have done in the previous video. In the previous video, I have shown you the complete configuration of Amazon Cognito, and I have also shown you how to integrate how to integrate Google Authentication with this social login page. So there are some changes that I am just going to show you. Okay, so first of all, let's open the Amazon Cognito. Okay, so we are already in this Amazon Cognito user pool that we have created. So last time we had created this new user pool, so we'll just move on with that only. Okay, so first of all, we need to change this callback URL and sign out URL. So I have some issues with my personal domain, that is sexadam.com. So we will be working with another different one, that is finance.co. So this is the domain name we'll be working with today, but the web page will be same. Let me show you that this is not my personal domain, I am using someone else. So after this work, that the domain name will be changed. Okay, there will be some different website with this domain name. Okay, so yeah, so you can see with this domain name I am able to find my website right now. So yeah, and since we have changed this callback URL here, we need to make the same change here in this OAuth consent screen. So I'll just go to this OAuth consent screen in the Google developer. So there is some problem, let me try it. Yeah, so we are in the consent screen of Google developers platform. Here I'll scroll down, and in this application homepage I'll paste my new domain name. Also here I just paste the domain name that I have given right now, so that is finance.co. Just save and continue, and yeah, we are done with this Google developers console. Just remove or close all these tabs, and this other one is this sign out URL. In this sign out URL, earlier I have given this YouTube link, but whenever we click on the sign out button in my website, we should be handling this authentication, this we should be handling the session management. We should remove the cookies that we will be saving. So I'll just show you all those things. So for that, we need to get back to our own environment, that is own domain name https finance.co. So we need to get back to our same environment, and this sign out URL will be thank you. So we'll be just creating a thank you page, and we'll just redirect to this link, this URL. Okay, so let me update this thing. Yeah, this is updated. Now let's open this UI, the login page, and log in with the same user ID and password that we had created earlier, and yeah, it's working fine. And you can see we are receiving this code, that this is the code that we will be using to retrieve all the jot tokens and the user data. But before that, we have to make another change. Okay, let me check if my screen is recording or not. Okay, it's working. Yeah, so we need to make another change. Let me show you the error first. What is the error that I am getting, and how can we fix that? Whenever I am logging through any Google user account, so you will be able to find that there is an error. Okay, I am not getting the code, rather I am getting an error stating that it is an invalid request because of some attribute, that is name attribute. So we can figure, I have figured that out how to make the correct thing. Let's go to this federation and go to this identity provider. Here click on this Google, and in this authorized scope I have mentioned only the email, but here you can see there are three options that you can provide, that is email, OpenID and profile. Since we had, let me show you here, since we record these two parameters that we have mentioned manually, that is email and name, so in this identity providers we need to mention email as well as profile. So in this profile option, in this profile authorized scope, we will be getting the name from the Google authentication. So let's update it, and now let's check out what we receive when logging through this Google authentication. So let's again logging through this, and yeah, here you can find now we are able to get the code that we are going to use for this website. This is the Django application I have created. Okay, so for first of all we need the code. We need to extract this code from this get request. Whenever we just receive this code in the get request parameter of this URL, we need to extract that. For that we will just request it using this request dot get function, and here this code, this is the key of this code. Here you can find the key of this this get request is code. So we'll be using this code and we'll store the value in a code variable. So this is the value, right? So we'll just store this value in this code variable. Once we retrieve that code from this get request of this URL, we will send this code into a function called get tokens. Okay, and we'll feed this with a code. So this function will return us the user data, including the ID token or the JOT token, which will contain those user information, and we'll store those user data to a variable called user data. Okay, now let's first of all create this function def get tokens and the code. Now we will extract those JOT tokens using an API call. So for that we need some security keys, secret keys and the secret variables. Let's create them first. Let's create the endpoint. Okay, so for this endpoint we'll just define it later on. First of all, create whatever are the requirement, redirect URI, and we need client ID for that method, and the client secret. Okay, so we need all these four variables for data to send the successful API request with this code to extract these JOT tokens, and we will get these variables from our environment variable. Okay, so let's go to our root directory and create a .env file. So here will be our environment variable will reside. So first of all create all those environment variables here. So here in this redirect URI we are supposed to feed the URI that we have created, basically the domain name we have created. So this is the domain name, https https. Yes, what is that? Wait. Oh, let me refresh it. I think there I have mistakenly removed that. Let me. Okay, so it is asking me to log into my website again. Sorry, my account, AWS account. Let's do that. Okay, yeah. So I'm done with that. I'm done with signing in, and yeah, here you can see it is Saddam. Okay, so it is Saddam, and then dot, and then we need to just paste this one. So this is my redirect. This will be my redirect URI. So in your case, you will have to change this domain and this region as per the region you have selected. After that, we need to mention the token endpoint. So the token endpoint will be okay, sorry, I just mistaken it. So this will be our token endpoint. Okay, just remember that this will be our token endpoint, and our redirect URI will be this one. Okay, let's go to app client setting, and here this callback URL will be our redirect URL. So copy this one and paste it here. So our redirect URI will be our callback URL, and token endpoint will be our domain name. All right. And also we have to add some more parameters here, like OAuth 2 slash token. So this will be our complete token endpoint, where we are going to send the API call to get all these JOT tokens. Now let's create the client ID. For that client ID, I will be going to this app client, sorry, and here this is my client ID. Just copy that and paste it here. Now the client secret, so just but tap on the show button, and here you can find the client secret as well. Copy this client secret, sorry, and paste it here inside the quotes, and then we need to provide the user pool ID. So this user pool ID will be our user pool ID that we have created, that is this one, and just copy that and paste it here. And finally we need to provide the Cognito region name. So the Cognito region name will be this one. You can get it from anywhere in the website as well, sorry, in the dashboard as well. So here you can find this is the my user, like the region name, sorry. Okay, so yeah, so we are setting up with this environment variable. I just save it and close it. We don't need to use that anymore. And now we will just get all these environment variables using the library called Python decouple. So for that you will have to install. I have already installed it using this command called pip install python decouple. Okay, so you will have to install this one before you use the Python decouple. So from decouple I will import config. Okay, and now here I need to just mention config and token endpoint within a single quote. Similarly, we need to mention the redirect URI within the single quote, config client id, client id inside single quote and the client secret. Okay, so we are done set initializing or declaring this variable. Now we need to create and encode data. For that we will be required the base 64 to encode those data that we just will be required in the header section of this API call. So import base 64 and go here. We will just use base 64 dot b64 encode. Inside that just bytes. Inside the function we will write, this is just the format. We need to mention client id and after a colon client secret. Okay, so then we are supposed to provide the standards ISO 88591. So we are done with this standard, providing this standard, and we decode it through ASCII value. So we are done with this setting of this encode data, and we'll just create an headers. We just create headers. For that, for the API call, for that we need to mention content type here. Content type will be our application /x hyphen www hyphen form hyphen URL encoded. If I am right, URL encoded. So just let me clear it that I haven't memorized this all this code, all these lines. So I have just referred to the documentation of official documentation of AWS and some other resources, and I have just sum up and just referred to those resources. Okay, so I'll just provide all this code so that you can just use them as per your requirement. Okay, now if basic encoded data, and yep, we are done with setting up the headers. Hopefully everything is correct. Now let's create the body of the API. First of all, we need to mention the grant type. Sorry, that will be grant type. Okay, so grant type will be authorization code. So for that you have to make sure that here in this app client setting you have checked in this authorization code grant. If you just uncheck this one, then this will return an error for you. Okay, so better you just check in this authorization code grant so that we can use this one to get all these JOT tokens using the code response code basically. Okay, then we need to mention the client ID that we have just set initialized client ID. Then we need to mention the code, the golden variable, the golden thing. We have just retrieved the code. So this is the code. Here we have received this code. This code is basically this one. Yeah, this code, we need to mention it here. And finally the redirect URI. Okay, redirect URI. So this redirect URI will basically redirect us to our home page of my website once the user is successfully logged in. So we are setting up all these parameters, the headers, body, encode data and all. Now we will just send the API call. We'll just get the API call using the request parameter. Okay, sorry, request library of this Python. For that, you can see here it is showing me error. So for that we need to import request. So it is not a default, it is not by default installed in this Django, in this Python. So you need to install that as well. I have mentioned in this file. So you need to install by using pip install requests. Okay, so yeah, just import it and you're good to go with using that thing. Request, I will be using post request for that matter, and we will send the request in the token endpoint, the URL that we have created. So here is the token endpoint. In this URL we will be sending our API post request to get these JOT tokens. I am repeating it again and again. Okay, then the data will be body and headers will be our headers variable that we have just created. All right, now we will store the response from this API call in a response variable. So this response variable will contain, let me show you the structure. So this response variable will contain the ID token. Okay, ID token, like I just ABC, ID token, access token, and the refresh, refresh token. So this will be the structure of my response that I'll be getting here in the JSON format. Okay, so here our aim is to retrieve this ID token, because this ID token will be containing the user's email ID, username and all of their personal details that they have provided. Alright, so we will just do it response dot JSON, and we will retrieve this ID token. Alright, so yeah, we'll get this ID token here, and we will store that data in a variable called ID token. Once we are done with extracting this ID token, now we need to pass this ID token to another function called, another library to be specific, decode underscore jot dot lambda. Okay, lambda handler and ID token. Okay, so this function will this lambda handler from this decode library will return us the user data, personal user data from this ID token, but it doesn't exist right now. So we need to create this library first. You need to create this class first. Okay, for that just go to this folder, like this general application. Inside that, create an application called decode underscore jot dot file. Okay, so right now this is an empty Python file. We'll just copy that one, like you will just copy this code. This is the code that I have found from this official AWS documentation. So I'm just copying this one because I don't want to write this. I don't need to write this because this is just a lambda function, you know. This is a lambda function. Okay, it is showing me some error here. save it. Still it is showing me some error. Okay, it will just vanish. Okay, so I have so this is basically a lambda function. You can see this is a lambda handler function will handling all those things. So this is an AWS lambda function that will help us to get all this user data using this jot id token. All right. Okay, so uh, we will getting this user data from this id token. Let's go to this file, and here we will just import from general import decode jot. Okay, so now here we have just the error was removed, has been the error is removed, and now we will store this user data in a variable called user data. So whatever user data we receive from this decode jot file in using this lambda handler function, we will store those all those user information in this variable called user data. Okay, now there may be two cases. The first is we might not receive any user data. For that we will write this one: if not user data, we will just return false. Yeah, and if we receive any data, we will create a JSON and store this information, the important information that we want to send or store in our application, in our website, and the name of the user using this user data name, and the email ID of the user data and email ID. So yeah, we have just created and retrieved this data. Okay, sorry, by mistakenly I have just tapped that one. Okay, so here it is. So we are returning this user data basically into this function. Like whenever I just request this get token function with this code, it returns us this JSON with this file, with this all this data. Okay, now we can just do, we can simply do it like context, and in the context we can send this as name as user data and name. We just create a context and another context status 1. Okay, and okay, let me mention it as, let me initialize it as a JSON or dictionary and pass this is basically a Django format, you must be aware of that. Okay, so I have just created this dictionary and passed this one to my template, HTML template. All right, so this code is basically when, okay, let me go to this website, when we are logged in with this login page and we just get this code will run for that period of time only. But let's say if we do not have this code, we want to just refresh this page, then at that period, at that point of time, we'll just have this one, right? Let me do it. Like whenever the other time, whenever we just land to this page, will not receive any code every time. That code will be received only when this user log in with from this page, right? So for that we will be getting an error because this time there is no get request in this URL. So this request.get will return an exception. Okay, so we'll just mention all these inside a try block so that you know. Okay, so sorry, catch is used in JavaScript. So in Python we need to mention it in the try and except block. Okay, so whenever we get this request from in the get request parameter, as the get request parameter, we will receive it and do it here. And again, now we are just receiving this data whenever someone is logging in, but we are not managing the session, right? So for that we need to create a session management using, we just store this ID token. Okay, so let me tell you how we are going to do the session management. All right, so here you can see this ID token that we are retrieving. Let me go to this user incognito user pool. Okay, and here application, and yeah, this one. So here you can see that this ID token expiration, right? So this must be, here it is mentioned that this must be between 5 minutes to 1 day. So maximum we can keep this expiration time as 1 day. So let's make it 1 day. What it means that this ID token that we are getting from this job token, it will be valid for 1 day. Okay, after that, after 1 day it will just expire and will not be able to get any data or any information until and unless the user log into the website once again. Okay, so we will store this ID, we can use this ID token in this period of 24 hours. We can use this ID token in this period of 24 hours. Whenever we just send this ID token and want to get this user information, we can do that in between the 24 hours. So that means the users will not be required to log in again and again whenever they visit to this website in the span of this 24 hours. Okay, So after 24 hours, whenever they visit to your website, they will be required to log in to that website, but before that they will be automatically logged in. That's it. So this is what session management is, right? So we have mentioned it one day and save it. Now what we'll just do it, we will store this id token. We'll store this id token to our cookies. If you just inspect element, go to storage, here you can find I have already a id token. Let me delete all of them. Okay, so now we don't have any. Let me refresh, and you can find, yeah, so there are no id token right now. There are no cookies basically right now. So we will create one. For that we'll just, this is just the format of creating cookies. So basically I'll be creating a cookie, and we'll store this cookie. We'll just store this id token inside a cookie. Request and index.html and context. Okay, so I am okay. Let me just remove this one. So I have created this response, and inside this response I'll just set the cookie response dot set underscore cookie. This is the default function in the Django. You know, this is the way we create Django cookies. All right. So now we just need to, this is like a key value pair, like this. Okay, so this is like a key value pair, and mode of we can add many other many other parameters like max age and other ones. So we'll just do it. Let's see. So I'll just name this cookie as the key of this cookie, this id token that we stored as this session cookie, because this we will be use this as a session cookie, right? So let me do it as, name it as session token, and the value will be user data and id token. So this is the key of this cookie, and this will be the value. The value is the id token, and we want the max age of this cookie will be 24 hours. That is 60 seconds into 60 minutes into 24 hours. Okay, so after this many period, that is after one day, this cookie will automatically get deleted. We don't need to do anything. This will be automatically get deleted from our website. Okay, and for security purposes we want to do it http only as true, so that people can't do these accesses, attacks and all, and that a different scenario. And just we will return this response now. Okay, so yeah, we are done with this. Now here what we will be doing is, whenever user just log into our website, we will retrieve this code. After that we'll retrieve the other user this personal details like the name, id token and email address, and then we will set the cookie. That's it. But what if the user is already logged into the website, and this is the second, third or fourth time he's coming to our website? So then we need to check if the data, if there is a session token already exists or not. For that, first of all we will get this token from this get session. Okay, get session and request We need to just create this get session function. Actually, from this get session function, we will just basically retrieve this token. Okay, so let's go to bottom of the function, bottom of the code, and create get session request. All right, so in this get session request there will be two scenarios again: try, pass, accept, pass. Okay, so there might be two scenarios: either the cookie will be there or it will not be available, right? So if it is available, then we will write the code as response equals to request dot cookies, and we need to mention the cookie name that we have just created, that is session token, and then we will return response. Okay, that's it. And if this session token cookie doesn't exist in our cookie, then we will just simply return none. That's it. Okay, so let's go at the top, and here we'll just call this get session request, and let's say if this doesn't exist. All right, so if token is not none, we'll move forward. That is, again we will ask the user, basically we'll just get the tokens. Okay, no, we have already received this one, right? So this token returns out all the data. We don't want this, we just want the data directly from this ID token. This time this function was used to get those information, this user information from this code, but this time we need this data from this ID token. That has been done here. So let's copy this one. This time we want data from here and move it to that. So this is basically, this time this token is equal to this ID token, so we don't need to mention ID token here. All right, so again this is ID token, and okay, here one more thing is, here we need to mention the default value as well, that is none. If this value doesn't exist, then it will pass none value. Similarly here we need to mention none. And then once we get the data that will from this function, we want to mention it in the context as name and user data and name, and also we want to make the status as one. I'll just tell you what this status means in this code, and then return render. Basically why I'm just typing it all, just copy and paste it here, and and okay, so if this token is not none, let's say if anyone lands to our website, like I am landing to my website, or just opening this website for the first time without just logging in, so there will be no session for me, or there will be no cookies with the name session token, that is the ID token, available for me. So for that time as well, I have to this website should be visible to me, right? So in that scenario, we will just simply return this index.html page. Okay, we'll just simply return this index.html page with the status as 0. All right, so this time we are just doing with the status as 0. Okay, so what this status means is, let me open this template HTML code for here, and here you can find this in this Ginger template that if this status is 0, then it will show the sign in or sign up page, and if the status is 1, it will show the sign out, sorry, this is the sign in or sign up button, and if this is 0, or sorry, this is 1, that means we have already logged into this website. So let me show the, like, just show me this sign out button. All right, so it will be just more clear once we're just done with the demo. So I think we are done with all the code. Now this code has been written in my VS Code locally, but this website is running in my EC2 instance. So for that I just need to push that code in my EC2 instance. Let me log into my EC2 instance here. Okay, and this is, we have logged in. I'll just go become root and go to my directory. Yeah, so here is the file I have. So first of all, here again I need to create this .env file. So it is empty. I just copy paste all those data from here. I didn't find any better solution rather than copy pasting it. Okay, so just copy and paste it here, and now we will just go to this cd general application, and here we will open this views.py. So there is nothing views.py. Let me remove all of them and come here, and here we need to paste all of those data, just copy, Control A, Control C, and just right click to paste here in this nano editor. Okay, so I think I haven't copied it properly. Let's again Control C and right click with Control V. Okay, so we are done pasting it here. Let me see my server if there is any error. No, there is no error. This is the server I'm running. Let's get out of this views.py. Okay, so here is no decode.py file. Okay, so let's go to this decode.py and copy the whole code. Let's type nano decode underscore jwt.py, and okay, so this is empty one. I just right click here, and again I have to copy it properly, Control C, and right click to Control V to paste it. Now Control S and Control X to just get out of this file. So still this is working fine. Let me refresh my page if there is any error. Oh, there is no error, and now you can see that I am the first time user of this website. So this is just showing me the sign in or sign out button, and I need to add this link here. So now here I'll be opening my template /index.html and scroll down to my URL. Let me open it, maximize it properly, and here you can see this sign in or sign in page. The user href, this location is hash, so I need to mention it properly, right? So my sign in URL will be, I have just created this sign in URL. I'll just let you know how to do that. Okay, and Control C, just right click, and yeah, so here you can see this part. This is the redirect URI part, right? So this redirect URI, this value is the wrong one that I have used earlier. So you need to just go to this app client setting. here you'll find this callback URL, right? So in this callback URL you need to copy this one and just update it with your own redirect URI. Just right click, and now this redirect URI will be redirected to my financy.co. And similarly, here is the client ID. So, okay, so in your case this client ID will be different as of mine. Let me show you properly in my notepad. So here is the client ID. Okay, so this will be a different client ID for you, as like unlike mine, and this redirect URI will also be different, but the response code will obviously be this code, and everything will be same. So here this domain name will be different, again this will be different. Here you need to update this domain name as whatever you provide, and this region name. Okay, so yes, we are done with setting up this sign in key, and now we need to provide this sign out link. Okay, again this remove this hash, and then again here I need to mention this one. You can see again there is a client ID. You will have to again update this client ID. I'll just share this link with you. So you will have to update this client ID and log out URI as well. So for me this is again the wrong one. For me my redirect URI will be this one, this sign out URL. Control C, and I just update it here itself. Control V, this client ID is same like the correct one for me. So Control C, and I just copy it here. So yeah, I'm done with this. Control S, save, and Control X to get out of this nano editor. Now once we are reloaded, we just done reloading, and if you hover, you can see in this corner here, in this bottom left corner, you can see this URL. Whenever you click on this sign in or sign up button, you will be redirected to this login page. Let me sign in as a different user with different name, different login URL. So this is taking some time for me. Until then, let me check if I'm okay. So I'm done. I'm good. Maybe my URL mine. Okay, so this is taking some time. Let us use another way. Let us use this conventional way of doing it. So you can find I have logged in using this the learner email ID. Here you can find that user group, and go to this learner. Here you can see my name is learner, right? So that's why it is just showing me learner. Let me show you how I am able to get that. Just go to general views, and here you can see we have passed this user data, right? We have passed this user data through this content to the template, and that is why we are able to see this one. And if you check the session token, let's go to storage and go to the session token. Here you can see my session token that I have created. If I delete this one, let's delete all and refresh this page, you can see then I have again like just return to this again the existing page. Let's click on the sign in and again log in with different username this time. Okay, all right, let me use my college email ID. I am already logged in, and so yeah, you can see this is my username of that email ID. So now this time I am just shown with this one. Okay, and also let me go to this storage, and you can find this ID token, and I haven't yet implemented this sign out. So whenever I just click on the sign out button, this will show me some error because I haven't done that yet. So let's do it. Let's go to this nano general urls.py. Here first of all we need to mention the path. Let me do that first. Let me do that, and as we have mentioned, our path URL must be thank you finance.co.thank you, and the function will be sign out. All right, and let's name it as sign out. Okay, we are done with that. Let's open the views. Let's go at the bottom and write the code manually here itself. So our function will be sign out, request, and enter. Then we first of all we will be getting the template here, response, request. No, this is not the format, sorry. Vendor request slash index, let me give a semicolon here, dot html, no, that's a code, single code, not semicolon, dot, and status will be 0 again because I am logging out of this application. Now response dot delete. Whenever we are just clicking on this sign out button, we want to delete, we want to just dismiss the session. So for that we need to delete that cookie, right? So for that we will just delete cookie manually, so that we don't need to wait for one day to get it deleted automatically. So we'll just delete it manually and return the response. That's it. Control S and Control X to get out of the nano editor. And now if you reload this page and click on this sign out button, you can see the session token has been deleted and we are back to our home page with the URL thank you. So let's do it once again. That's pretty fun, you know. Now this time we'll use this one to log in. Here you can see my name is SK Saddam. So yeah, we are done. We have received this username. All right. So yeah, we are done with that. So let me show you one more thing. Let's open this on new tab, finance.co. Still you can see that I have already logged in into this, and with the same username. Let me close this tab and this one also. Let me close the browser and open the browser again. So I'm just trying to show you that how the session management is working for us. So let's open the tab finance.co, and you will still be able to see that the user is logged in. Okay, so user is still logged in until and unless we are back to this website after a day. This will be there. The user will be logged into that particular profile. If until and unless you just sign out manually, just whenever I just sign out manually, you can see we are done with this old page. Now even if you reload this, you will be able to see this one only. So I think this is a value packed tutorial and I am able to teach you a lot of things. So bye bye till the next time.